Hi there, this is Tim from PC Gamer, and for this week's Hearthstone Help column, we're taking a bit of a different approach. Obviously, you can tell by the fact my face is here, moving, speaking. It's the marvel that is video rather than just the written word. And we're going to each week be bringing on a top pro or streamer to talk us through one of their kind of favourite decks, most effective current meta decks. And I'm pleased to say that we're joined for our first episode by Hyped from Tempo Storm. Hi.
Hey, how's it going? Nice to be here.
Not too bad at all, thanks for joining us. And you are going to be showing off your Giants Mage.
Yes. It's a deck I recently used in a tournament, and I developed it for mostly for a ban format where you can ban Hunter. So that's what it's mainly used for because it's really bad against Hunter. But other than that, it's a strong deck.
This was for the second VGVN tournament.
Yeah, I used it in both actually. I made a small change, took out a Blizzard for a second Flame Strike. That's what we're using now because it's really good against Priests. Priests tend to flood the board. There's a new type of priest. It's called, people are calling it Zoo Priest because it's just playing like Zoo. It just puts all these minions on the board, so you need a Flame Strike.
When I first saw the deck, it kind of reminded me. It felt like almost like a hand mage. Is that kind of fair? You're kind of trying to build up a big hand to play these Twilight Drakes.
Yeah. So the Twilight Drakes, you don't really have too much draw. You just have really high quality minions, so you don't need too many cards. But the duplicate will actually, you don't really play too much before turn 4 anyway. So you kind of naturally have a large Twilight Drake, and then should it get duplicated, should you get the duplicate active, then you'll get 2 more Twilight Drakes in your hand, and then there'll be even more HP the next time you play it.
The other thing that really surprised me about it was no fireballs, an absolute staple of mages, but you've cut them.
Yeah, right now in the meta, well, first of all, the deck is trying to really slow down the game as much as possible, kind of like how a Paladin or sometimes a Handlock plays. They really just want to slow the game down to get all these threats out. Like if you look at the curve, it's very expensive. You have much more, almost as much creatures as like a Control Warrior. So they're also trying to slow the game out just so they can play their big creatures. And in addition to all that, you have the duplicates. So if you duplicate like a 6-drop or even higher, it's going to take you a long time to actually play all that. So you need to slow the game down as much as possible. And so you're never really going to Fireball face. But the reason Fireball is strong is because it's removal. And if you don't use it as removal, you can just send it their face. But with right now, with all the Nax cards, Fireball doesn't really kill that much. Like you don't really want to Fireball 4-drop. And then the most common 5-drops are Sludge Belcher, which Fireball doesn't fully kill, Loatheb, which you can't Fireball the turn it comes out, and then Spectral Knight, which you also can't Fireball. So Fireball is not really that good as removal right now.
Because with the arrival of Loatheb and the Nax cards, I mean, Freeze Mage was kind of killed, effectively dead. How have you been getting on?
Yeah.
How have you been getting on against all the kind of Control Warriors out there, which was the traditional? I mean, I know this isn't a Freeze Mage, but we've got kind of some of the things like the Ice Block would be familiar from that.
Wait, this deck is actually great against Warriors, especially if they're unfamiliar with the deck, because they'll see something like a Water Elemental, and that's a really threatening card for a Warrior, and sometimes they'll just execute it, because they don't know what's in the deck, and then you throw down a Cairn and a Rag, and they have no answer. And then the Molten Giants, they don't really play around the Molten Giants like a Warrior, so if they don't have anything like Brawl, you just like slam down 2 Molten Giants, and you just win the game, basically.
What would you say are the kind of the key cards in it? I'm already like hovering over Mad Scientist, which seems to be kind of one of the MVPs of the Nax set.
Oh, definitely. This deck, when Duplicate came out, because they did kind of the tiered release, Duplicate came out, and my teammate Tides tried to make a Giants Mage and try to just duplicate high value minions like this, but the deck just didn't have consistency. You just kept dying without, like, you'd have the Molten Giants, but you wouldn't have the Ice Block, or you'd have the Ice Block and the Molten Giants, but you wouldn't have the Duplicate. So then we were like, all right, we'll just shelf the deck and we'll work on it once the Mad Scientist came out. And I didn't think the Mad Scientist was going to be as good as it is, but it really is the MVP of the deck, like you said. Really brings it all together.
Before we started recording, you mentioned that you'd swapped one Blizzard for a Flame Strike recently. What was the thinking behind that? You just wanted a bit more punch?
Yeah, when I first made the deck, I thought Blizzard would be necessary against Zoo and Miracle Rogues, because that way if they try to stealth a Gadgetzan or Edwin, you can still Blizzard it, and whatnot. And then versus Zoo, 2 Flame Strikes is a little slow, and the Blizzard kills most of their stuff anyways, and you really need it. But since then, there's been a lot less Zoo and Miracle, so Priest has come up in its spot, and they just flood the board, and Flame Strike's perfect for them.
Sludge Belcher, one of the absolute other key Nax cards, it's finding its way into almost every deck, going beyond pure aggro.
Yeah, that card basically just enables Paladin and this Mage deck, and even Priest to a lesser extent, and now Control Warrior too. It just enables them all to be in the meta, whereas they were really struggling with that, just falling behind a little bit, not able to catch up.
What's the thinking behind a single Cone of Cold? Is that just kind of slow down rush decks, or?
Yeah, well, it used to have the Blizzard as well. So it used to have four freezes: the Frost Novas, the Kona Cold, and the Blizzard, and they all go with the Doomsayer because you need some sort of activation for the Doomsayer typically. Doomsayer is great on turn two sometimes, but if you don't draw them early, then you're going to need to pair them with a freeze usually. So they just help to get the help or to help get the Doomsayer off. But also sometimes you need to drop the Karen or the Sludge Belcher, and you're falling far behind, so you just need a Nova to get one of those minions out on the board, so you don't die immediately.
And I guess you've got a few Death Rattle minions, but you weren't tempted by Undertaker because, like, I mean, it looks like the Death Rattle stuff's quite high in terms of mana cost beyond the Mad Scientist.
Yeah, the problem with lower minions is you don't really want to get them duplicated. You don't really want to get an Undertaker, a Mana Worm, or Mirror Images. I would love to have Mirror Images in this deck just to help get the big guys out. You need like you're gonna drop a big guy, but you're gonna fall behind. If you have like a Mirror Image, you can kind of slow down the game a little bit. Use that extra 1 mana on your turn. But the problem is you don't really want to get any of that duplicated.
Mirror Image is such a pain in the arse to chew through.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's jump onto the ladder. We're using my account, so you're going to be. Hopefully, this is going to be like a relaxing bath for you because you'll be able to beat up just some people far down the ladder who you wouldn't normally be facing.
Hopefully, we don't get hunters because I think even a low-rated hunter might be able to beat this. We'll see though. But yeah, playing a hunter would be like a totally different strategy than we normally take, which is to slow the game down as much as possible.
And are you doing a lot of kind of? Are you doing a lot of kind of deck theory crafting at the moment with the BlizzCon qualifiers coming up? You're qualified #1 in North America, if I'm correct.
Yeah, so I skipped to the second phase, but I'm still helping a few of my teammates that are going into the first phase, which is like in a few days.
And how are things on Tempo Storm generally? Great win for Tides of Time recently.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Tides won that China tournament. We had no idea exactly what to do. We knew there were going to be some Europeans there, some North Americans, and also the Asian players, and we didn't. It was really hard to prepare. Thankfully, there was that NEL tournament that was streamed recently. Oh, real quick. So against the Warlock, we're going to assume he's Zoo, so we're going to assume the Arcane Influx too slow, so just toss everything.
I was going to say, that's all got to go.
Yeah, so the best card against Zoo would be Doomsayer. Especially this early, you don't even need the freeze. You just put the Doomsayer down when you can have a follow-up on your next turn. So say you have something like Water Elemental. It's hard to play Water Elemental because you play it and they already have like 3 minions on board. They put 2 more. But if you have Doomsayer, you play the Doomsayer, they don't play anything, the Doomsayer goes off, and then you can play a Water Elemental on a fresh board.
So it's a pure sort of tempo play.
Yeah. Okay, so we're in a pretty bad spot. We'd like to save that coin for the Flame Strike, so we'll probably just pass and Frostbolt that next turn.
Fine.
But this is why Frostbolt's in the deck, for the most part, is because you don't have any plays on turn 2, and you're going to fall behind if they have something strong. So the Nerubian Egg is actually both good and bad for us. It's good because he has a slow start. Go ahead and Frostbolt the Undertaker. So it's a slow start, but when we do AoE, he's going to get the 4-4 if we can't deal with it. But if we can get something on the board, we can get that Sludge Belcher on the board, we can attack the egg before we Flame Strike, on the turn we Flame Strike. Interesting.
So he slaps down a Shade. What are your thoughts on Shade?
I have not seen it much in Zoo.
This is what you get down at rank 12.
Oh yeah. I don't know, it's pretty interesting, but yeah. Alright, so we can just, we can throw down the duplicate. So Coin Belcher might work, depending on if he unstealths that or not. But we could probably just, again, save the coin for Flame Strike. Alright, so he's starting to put a lot of pressure, but it's okay because we do have Molten Giants in the deck, another one of the important cards against Zoo. Alright, so we can't really play that Mad Scientist because we have the Duplicate active. We don't really want to get him duplicated. Coin Belcher trades okay, but he's probably going to run that Shade of Naxxon. It's going to live, it's going to be annoying, and it's not going to accomplish too much, so you could just Ice Block now. This is usually a poor start because you want to play the Scientists and put the secrets on for free instead of having to arm them yourself, but we have no other plays right now.
Are you feeling confident at the moment?
Not really. That was a really poor start. We want something like a Doomsayer, one of our 4 drops, the Water Elemental, the Twilight Drake are great versus Zoo, and we'd like to have a Molten Giant in our hand just for when he does take us down to that range. And the Rag's not going to do much, and the Polymorph's sort of a weak card. But it'll kill a Doom Guard if he has it. But we'll clear most of his board of Flame Strike here. Not here, but after, in next turn. Okay, so we have the Mole Giant, that's great. Alright, so go ahead and throw down the Belcher now, just slow him down a little bit.
Are you still using this deck much on ladder? I know you've been mainly playing Miracle on the stream that I've been watching recently.
Yeah, I've actually been just I've been taking the Legend ladder climb easy. Like whenever the season restarts, I usually don't go for Legend right away. I just play some decks that I normally don't play. I like to learn new decks when I like the lower ranks when I'm still new to the deck as well. Okay, so this is really good for us because now that Shade is actually going to die to Flame Strike if he attacks into it, and hopefully, if he attacks that Harvest Golem, we'll clean that up fully too. Unfortunately, he is going to have the 4/4 egg. I don't think we can do anything about that.
Would you kind of already be thinking you might poly the Nerubian, or is that a waste?
4/4, it might get polyed, yeah, but I don't think we're going to have the mana to cast it for a while, because we're probably going to Flame Strike, and then maybe cast the Molten Giant or something, so the 4/4 is going to be around a while, I think. Also, we're going to get some Belchers back too, so we can play those. So
Spare Belchers is good.
Yeah. Yeah, the Polymorph is, usually you don't want to cast that spell when you don't even have anything on the board. It's much better when you have an actual minion on the board, you're attacking things, you're polymorphing things so your minion lives longer, stuff like that. There are some minions you have to polymorph immediately, like maybe the Doomguard. Okay, so so Frost Nova is good, because we don't even want to Flame Strike until we absolutely have to, and that lets us delay. And this will let us get off better trades with that Nerubian, but we'll only use it if we could actually play something with it, which we can't, right? You have 3 to 4 mana left over if you were to Frost Nova, so all you could do is polymorph.
You could Scientist, I guess, if you Nova'd and then Scientist, would that be?
Yeah, so Scientist or polymorph. Actually, those are actually kind of decent here, but maybe we want to save that. We might want to save it though. It might be better to play one of our bigger guys like Molten Giant or Belcher with the Nova. So this is actually a hard choice because we don't know if we're going to get another freeze or AoE, because we have that one Flame Strike that'll clean up. So let's see. So we'll have 8 mana next turn, so if we Flame Strike we can't do anything else with it, and he's going to have quite a bit on the board still.
Tough spot.
So I think what we're going to do, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We'll be at 5 HP if we Flame Strike this turn. And we'll have 7 mana. Okay, so let's save the Frost Nova and let's just Flame Strike here. This should give us 5 mana Molten Giants next turn. Maybe a little less if he has any instant damage. Yeah, so it's a little bit of a messy Flame Strike, but now we can we'll play the Molten Giant and the Mad Scientist and the Frost Nova next turn, hopefully. Oh, he might not even break that at itself. Oh, and I did the math wrong. I thought the Nerubian was going to live. That's great for us. We want to see that now rather than later.
Why do you call?
Okay, so now this is like the power of Molten Giant and Frost Nova to take back tempo. And Frostbolt's actually not bad either. So actually, yeah, so drop the Molten Giant. Frostbolt the 6/2, yeah, and then Belcher. And so the Belcher, it clears the board, and we get the ooze, the slime still. And next turn we're going to be able to Frost Nova and Belcher. We're just afraid of, we don't want him to pop the block because we don't have the second block or the Alexstrasza. Usually this is how it works. You're behind all game and you're slowly starting to catch up, but you're still a little bit behind on board, but you're starting to catch up, and if he were to go for your face or something, you could do something like Armor Second Ice Block or Alexstrasza yourself if you have those cards, and then you'd instantly, you'd be out of lethal range, and then you'd be ahead on board because you have these big guys on board. These big minions, they kill multiple of his creatures, but over the course of many turns, like only one at a time.
What are you worried about seeing from him at this point? Kind of Doom Guards and stuff like that? I don't think we've seen
Doom
any
Guard
yet.
and the second Soulfire, so he could pop the block.
Yeah.
But at this point, we could keep the block. He wouldn't be able to get us lower before he pops it because we're going to have this Sludge Belcher. So go ahead and Belcher. And Now we can hold the Nova, but we don't want our Scientist to die when our Ice Block is on, because we want the Scientist to guaranteed fetch us our second Ice Block. But it looks like, barring a Doom Guard, and if he does Doom Guard, he probably wouldn't trade into your Scientist, so you're safe to Scientist here. So you can Scientist and then just attack the Voidwalker with your Molten Giant. And then just keep the slime alive and just hit his face with the slime.
Okay. Job's done. I'm still not feeling confident, but...
Yeah. But yeah, now we have pretty much the guaranteed second ice block off the... Actually, not necessarily. It's still going to be 50-50, but we're going to wait till our first ice block goes off before we kill the Mad Scientist if it's up to us. We can even ping him this turn, so we'll have the guaranteed. We'll be able to kill him on command later, but it looks like he'll have stuff on board, so we'll be okay. See, now at this point, you've been on defense the whole game, so you're maybe a little scared, but if you actually look at the board, you have... and he just flame imp, so he's low on HP. Yeah, you have 12 damage on the board. 13 with your ping, so you're only 4 damage off. So I would say any of these plays are good, but let's just Arcane Intellect, because we're probably just going to Nova and go face. Yeah, Drake is fine, but I think, yeah, just Arcane Intellect again, and Frost Nova. We really want those cards like Alex, just in case anything goes wrong here.
And, Spare Giant.
Oh, that's perfect. And that's also good. So yeah, just throw down the Molten Giant. Frost Nova. And we could kill the Knife Juggler, but I would say just send everything at the face. Because we still have the Ice Block active, so he has to get through the Ice Block and get a whole bunch of taunts. He needs an Argus and like a second Voidwalker. And even then, I think he's going to die.
How key do you think it is? I mean, one of the things I've always struggled with is that decision-making between when to clear. I mean, we're in a pretty strong position now, but when to clear and when to go face, that feels like one of the kind of key mistakes probably people down at my level tend to make.
Yeah, well, for this deck, it's almost always okay just to fully clear, but once you get the Molten Giants on the board, you can start looking at, oh, can I actually just kill him? Because you have the Ice Block active, so it's like, oh, I can freely just go for face and force him to clear because I have the Ice Block active. Right, so no, he has Molten Giants himself. But yeah, so he's at
so that's GG.
3 HP. Yeah.
Well played. We're not going to go for BM because we're not like that on PC Gamer.
Oh no, no.
So it's interesting, and watching your stream, I often note how you do the maths really fast of kind of computing lethal kind of next turn and then potentially even the turn after that versus what kind of common combos can be done to you. Is that something you were always good at, kind of doing that mental arithmetic fast, or you've just built it up in the process of playing Hearthstone?
Oh no, if you play the same like type of deck, you just know like all the numbers. Like if you're playing Miracle Rogue, you know multiples of 6 really well, and then you know you have things that add 4 like Cold Blood and Evis. So it's really just playing the same deck and starting to not get used to it, I think. Because this deck, there's not really any multiples. You guys just hit really hard. But there are a few things to remember. Like say you double Molten Giant, that's 8 and 8. That's 16. So if you were to have an Alex Strauss the next turn, that's like a common play. You just double Molten Giant one turn. You seem like you're on the defensive. You're like, oh, I'm just going to double Molten Giant. I'm going to Frost over your board, have an Ice Block up, and then they're at 30 health. And then all of a sudden next turn you come down, you Alex Strauss them, and then just double hit with the Molten Giant, they're dead. So that is one thing you really have to look out for, because you're usually playing really defensive, and then you double Molten Giant Alex, and you're like, oh, he's just dead. Alright, so Flame Strike, we did put that card in because of Priest, but we'll just toss it now and hope to pick it up later. The Scientist, we always want the Scientist because we don't want to pay the 3 mana for our Secrets. We're going to pay 2 mana for our Secrets and get the free 2/2 body out of it. And then Arcane Intellect, we don't really have any better turn 3 plays. Your other 3 mana things are like the Secret, like we talked about, and just another 2 mana thing. So we'll keep the Arcane Intellect because it's pretty much the best 3 mana play. If you don't have the coin, maybe you could coin out a Twilight Drake or something, but turn 3 is exactly when we want to cast Arcane Intellect.
So with this priest, you're expecting it presumably to be something like kind of the Zetalot minion heavy priest. That's kind of the one that's most common.
Yeah, a lot of minion heavy.
Job's done.
So we'll probably Frostbolt like a Cleric if you were to play it next turn. Otherwise we'll Scientist. So we actually have all our low drops and no actual minions, which is kind of a problem, but hopefully the Arcane Intellect will get us one. But yeah, here we can just Scientist. Again, we don't really like to see the secrets in our hand, because we don't want to pay 3 mana for Ice. We're not going to pay 3 mana for Ice Block for a very long time against Priest. So that card's just kind of dead for now.
Against Priest, does this typically end up being a long, kind of drawn-out game? Like all Priest games, pretty much.
Well, yeah, Priests have been starting to speed up their game plan a lot more, with like the Zealot Priest. So sometimes you just, ideally we'd like to slow down the game as much as possible, but they like to try to rush you down nowadays, so usually you might just throw in a Flame Strike on turn 7 and it's kind of lights out for them. So this is going to be a slower Priest, because he's got the Pyromancer thing he wants to clear. He doesn't really want to flood the board. Typically, the Pyromancer won't go in the Zealot build because you're killing your own stuff. What secret did we get?
Duplicate.
Yeah, Duplicate. Alright, so that's good. Unfortunately, Molten Giant's going to be hard to get off against a Priest. And, again, this is a slow Priest, so we don't have to Frostbolt that now. We could just Arcane Intellect.
So seeing that he's got the Pyro, you're expecting it to be kind of closer to the Amaz control
Yeah,
Priest.
the old school slow Priest. So we have too many targets for Shadow or Death, so at some point, if we drag the game out long enough, he'll just run out of Shadow or Death, and we'll just keep playing 8/8s.
Karen's good news though with the old 4.
Karen's amazing too. We can actually be really greedy and just force the Duplicate on Karen. Usually you have to duplicate your 4-drops and your 3-drops, but if he doesn't play anything, we won't play anything either until turn 6 when we play the Karen. Alright, so the Priest typically doesn't, besides the Pyromancer, they don't actually have any way to kind of activate their Acolyte there. So normally, I would say Frostbolt the Acolyte, but since he can heal his Pyromancer, I think we're kind of forced to Frostbolt the Pyromancer here, else it's going to live for a while. And then just ping his face. We could also ping ourselves too, because we have that Molten Giant, but typically the deck is so slow that if you just slow the game down, you don't have to like speed up to Molten Giants, you just take it slow and you win.
So Hunter is still the worst matchup for this desk?
Definitely, yeah.
For everyone's decks.
Yeah. Alright, so we can't play that because we don't want it to get it duplicated, so you could just, your only play is, you don't have to Frost over here, so we're just gonna Ice Block, and then, so now your pings actually kind of matter, because he can't heal with that Akanai up. So you can actually ping the Akanai, that way it dies to Flame Strike later, or it also dies to the Karen if he tries to trade into it. Also, if he tries to circle, it'll kill himself. It'll kill itself. That's another thing you have to watch out for this deck. Like I said, they don't have enough Shadow or Deaths to deal with all your threats, but they can Akanai double circle, which is 8 AoE damage. So if you have too many 8/8s on the board, you might lose that way.
Have you experimented much with the even heavier secrets build Priest, like the ones Sujao was running with the Arcanists and the Kirin Tor Mages, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I like some of the aggro version or the mid-range versions with Duplicate, Counterspell, and the Kirin Tor Mage.
Yeah. And
stuff like that. I like those. I don't know how good they are overall. Like, I kind of built this Mage deck to have a very specific purpose, so I know exactly when to play it. So yeah, go ahead and Karen here. This is what we're hoping for. The only thing you have to watch out for is, there's pretty much nothing a Priest can do here, but maybe if you're playing against a Shaman, he could Hex that and kill it, and then you duplicate your Frogs. But against a Priest and Warrior, we can be really greedy and just force the duplicate on Karen like this. Yeah, the Secret Mages are pretty good as well, because some of the more mid-ranging ones, they have control early, like they have the Mana Worm and maybe a Loot Hoarder or stuff like that, so they have a little bit of control early, unlike this deck, which just does nothing for the first few turns and hopes to catch up with Doomsayer. So they have a little bit more control early, and then they do have like maybe a Sylvanas and a Karen and a Rag, so if you're facing a slower deck, like a Warrior, you could be like, oh, I don't have to be too aggro, I could just get my Karen duplicated, and then I can win in the late game as well. So that's kind of cool. Okay, so one circle's down, so now we don't have to worry about the double circle on our Giants later. So that's good to know, and then we have to duplicate, so it's going to have a hard time dealing with all this. Another nice thing about the Karen is, with duplicate, you still get the ban on the board.
definitely. So next turn you're thinking just Cairn straight away?
Yeah, and we could just trade. Oh, he's going to trade for us. Yeah, just Cairn. There's no answer. Actually, since he's running the old school priest, he might do something cool and steal your Cairn with Alchemist Cabal, but we don't have to worry about that yet.
Is someone injured?
Yeah, just Cairn. And now since our ice block's active, the Mad Scientist is going to... Oh, I was going to say, it would guarantee the second duplicate, but we also have the second duplicate in our hand, so that Mad Scientist actually will do nothing.
Because there's no other secrets in the deck?
Yeah,
right.
correct. So we could play it as the 2-2, we just have to be careful. We definitely do not want to get it duplicated when we do armor duplicate. Which is something you might have to think about in advance, because you played the Mad Scientist and it might just not die for a while, and then you're like, well, now I can't play duplicate, this sucks.
So with BlizzCon looming later in the year, are you going to be kind of trying to keep some sort of secret decks under wraps that you bring to the tournament?
Yeah, we're already starting to do that a little bit with our team testing for the first phase. We're experimenting with a lot of new decks right now, and we're definitely keeping them secret. Everyone's like, don't stream these, don't... Like, everyone on my team streams more than me. They all stream, like Rayned and Wreckfold stream a ton, and they're like, don't stream these, so...
That seems like one of the strengths of Tempo Storm, that you are all kind of mad scientists when it comes to deck building.
Yeah, it's really fun to have, like, someone come up with a whole new deck and then have the whole team look at it and be like, oh, let's change this card, let's change this card, let's try this, let's try this. Little suggestions like that. And then sometimes we all disagree, we talk about it, and then sometimes someone can look at a deck and say, no, it's definitely, and this card is definitely wrong, play this card. And that's nice too. Yeah, so we can Flame Strike. We can also use our Frost Nova to... This is as good as Frost Nova gets, is instead of Flame Striking, you get to delay your strength Flame Strike, which usually gets only better with time. And this lets you develop the board. So those are the two key things. With your AoE, you know, the longer you can wait, the better. Usually you're kind of forced to throw it down so you don't fall behind. But in this situation... Oh, and that's number one. And then number two with AoE, or any spells for that matter, are they're better when you actually have creatures on the board, rather than you're just like, your back's up against the wall, you're shooting spells at them to try to live. If you can actually get creatures on the board and then you're shooting spells at their minions while your creatures attack their face, that's the best case scenario. So we're going to use that Frost Nova to get a minion out. And so it's either, oh, don't use, I was going to say, in this very rare scenario, the Twilight Drake is something you want to play first because it has more HP. But we could just Sludge Belcher here anyways, because it was going to be a toss-up anyways, I wasn't sure. So yeah, Sludge Belcher.
I got overexcited and made the decision for us.
Oh no, yeah.
Sorry about that.
And then Cairn Face. So now our Flame Strike is going to be stronger because he's going to put more minions on the board, and also we're going to have more minions on the board. So every time, so now our minions just going to get free hits on his face because we're going to AoE his board and hit his face.
I mean, if you're in his position, you'd have to be thinking that we would have a Flame Strike in hand. So would you pile more stuff into the board? What would you do if you were him?
If I were him, maybe he could Power Word Shield his Azure Drake so it lives, but even then he has the Pyromancer, so it's a problem. So he knows that Flame Strike's coming. He's not going to put anything on the board, but he also knows that also puts him behind. He's like, well, I can't play anything, so I'm just going to pass. He's not happy about it either, even though he knows it's coming. Some classes can prevent it. Worst case scenario actually would be Loatheb. He could Loatheb and prevent your Flame Strike. So that is one of the risks.
So he's just decided to draw some cards instead.
Yeah.
He's got rid of Cairn.
So our Molten Giant is going to get Shadow or Death, so we don't have to play it now unless we... it works well with our mana here. We can just hold on to it. Okay, so we don't have to Flame Strike. Our other play would be getting the Cairn on the board. The Flame Strike doesn't let us do anything except for the Mad Scientist, which again we decided doesn't really help us. It doesn't really hurt us either, and then next turn we could Drake Cairn probably. But he does have a lot of cards, so we can delay our Flame Strike again if we want. But we have 2 Flame Strikes in the deck, so I would say go ahead and Flame Strike. And then Mad Scientist.
Boom.
Yeah. Alright, so we're going to try to trade off both of these guys before we get our duplicate procced later. Because we have 3 really good... Well, the Twilight Drake's okay, but I think we're going to be able to get our Molten Giant or our Cairn duplicated pretty easily here. So he's going to ideally when you slam that Molten, he's just going to immediately Shadow Word Death it, and we're going to get 2 back is the ideal situation.
So you have specific minions you're happy to have duplicated, and those are Cairn, the Molten Giant.
Yeah, versus slower deck, you have the time, and you don't what's the word? You have the freedom to duplicate whatever you want. And against the slower deck, the luxury. So you want the high value creatures, the Cairn, the 8/8s, even the Ragnaros. The Ragnaros is still a problem though because you can't play 2 more immediately. You have to play. It takes a very long time to play them all. Alright, so this is perfect. We get to trade off our stuff if we want. We could also go for a Doomsayer. Doomsayer actually, it's a slight risk because we can't. It is one of the few ways we can fall behind here, but
would you be worried he might Cabal the Doomsayer? I know that would do no good. That would still blow the whole thing up.
I think anything he uses on it, be it the Shadow Word Pain or
Silence.
he might circle it. Silence? Yeah, he might actually run Silence too, but that's not too bad because we have the Oh, we could just take this turn to do our.
What to do?
So our main concern is him playing something like Rag. We do have 1 Polymorph though.
Are you thinking of trading off the Scientist and getting the Molten Giant and the duplicate down?
Yeah. Or we could I kind of do like the Doomsayer here though, because he's less inclined to actually play something if all he has is the Akanai on the board anyways. So I would ping the Earthen Ring Healer, and then run the Scientist into it, and then just play the Doomsayer. If we were super afraid of falling behind, we could also play the Cairn here and just let the first half die if he were to let the Doomsayer go off.
But no.
Yeah, because we do want this Doomsayer to go off, but... And if he played the Cairn, he'd be less inclined to use spells into the Doomsayer. He's like, well, he's losing half his Cairn, I'll lose half my Akanai. We really just don't want to fall behind, so this is a small risk in playing it.
He's having a think about it.
Yeah. Oh, but one of the main reasons is we're going to get free Molten Giants later, so we could do the Molten Giant play when it's actually free, and we could do other things at the same time.
So it feels like with this deck, presumably against almost anyone you play with, you're always in it for the long haul. I mean, it's always going to be a pretty long game.
Yeah. Okay, so he could have killed the Doomsayer, but he chose not to. This is perfect. This is what our deck loves. Or he might Shadow Word Pain here. Alright, so this is the strength of the deck, is when someone goes all in, he's going to forfeit his board just to try to kill you, but you have the second Ice Block, you have the Molten Giants. So you're immediately... He thinks the game is almost over. And he might be right, but he would have to have multiple... He didn't even pop the block that turn, so this is perfect. So you can... yeah, Molten Dupe... Oh, because we have the Twilight Drake again. So let's see, we have 7 mana to spend, so it's either going to be Cairn, Belcher, or Twilight Drake, only one of those. We're not really worried about any Chargers, so we don't have to taunt. But the Cairn probably is the most, it has the most power, so if he puts something on the board, it has the highest chance of actually cleaning up his board. So we're going to go with the Cairn Molten Duplicate.
What to do? What to do?
And this also has the highest chance of... It's kind of tied with the Twilight Drake, where it's the hardest to kill, so he's probably going to kill... We're probably going to get the Molten Giant duplicated this way. Whereas if you played the Belcher, there was a chance that the Belcher died before the Molten Giant, but we're probably going to see the instant Shadow Word Death on it, and then you're going to play 2 more for free the following turn. And this is the situation I was talking about where, yeah, the following turn when you play 2 Molten Giants, if he kills it, then you'd actually be worried about, well, the Akanai double circle, because it would actually really hurt you.
So talk me through why you didn't prefer the Drake, because it would have had the bonus health from having a lot more cards in hand, or a couple more cards in hand.
Yeah. I don't think he has a silence, but the Drake is vulnerable to silence, so they could proc the duplicate on the Drake, and you really want it on the Molten Giant here. Oh, so this is again one of those situations where you've been defensive the whole game, but if you were to draw Alexstrasza, you could start to get you could start to be on the offensive because you actually have 12 damage, and you'd be at 3 HP after Alexstrasza. But now we could Alexstrasza ourselves if we were to get it. Okay, so now this is actually a hard decision if we're gonna ice block for sure. So you could put that on, and then so again, we're gonna kill his minions. So the Belcher doesn't do much, but it's still the second most powerful creature. It has 4 attack as opposed to the Belcher, which only has 3. But the Belcher, we have the mana to spend the Belcher now. Maybe in the future we want to do like Water Elemental, Drake, and Ping next turn. So just for that reason, we'll be mana efficient. We'll play the Belcher. And he's going to have trouble killing us. He's used both smites. He needs like a Holy Fire. He needs 2 more nukes to our face because he's going to pop the block this turn if he has one. And then he's going to have to do it one more time. So we'll kill the Cleric with your Cairn. And then we'll decide if we want to kill the Ooze or not. If he had a silence, he could silence your Belcher and then hit through with the Ooze, so we'll prevent that. We'll just Molten Giant into the Ooze, and then you can ping his face. Oh, we're fine with taking it slow. We are a little low, so we kind of do want the Alexstrasza. It's going to be hard for him to pop our second block and kill us as well, but we're still, a little nervous at 1 HP. Now we do have 15 HP 15 damage on the board, so if we get Alex, we don't have to Alex ourselves, we can just Alex him.
I mean, if you were him there, would you have suspected that we had duplicate up and not killed the Giant first? Like, look to try and kill the Belcher? I guess he had nothing which could kill the Belcher.
Yeah, oh, that's rough.
Yeah, that's trouble.
So the Belcher actually, we thought we were being defensive with the Belcher. Actually was wrong to play because of that card. So if you were to have a second one, he could kill us. Alright, but we'll just Twilight Drake, Water Elemental, double Molten Giant. And then ping him. Yeah, all the newer priest builds, like with the Zedlot build, a lot of them do run Shadow Menace. This deck used to never run Shadow Menace though, so it wasn't kind of on my mind. But yeah, that was basically a mistake from that we should have played the Drake instead of the Belcher because it was more defensive.
Because of the attack, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So if he doesn't, so we're hoping he doesn't have the. Oh no, he has the Holy Nova, the Holy Fire. Or maybe he's giving us the well played.
He's got something he thinks, so he's trying to see if he can trick us into conceding.
Yeah. He's counting up the damage. He's like, maybe I'm not dead next turn. Like maybe there's a way I could heal up past these Molten Giants, Twilight Drakes, Cairns, and everything. But yeah, Alexstrasza is a huge card against Priest, both offensively and defensively. We didn't get it, but looks like we still should win here. We also took a risk with the Doomsayer. Oh my.
Oh, here we go.
Alright, we're good. Actually, does that prevent our lethal? 16 plus 6
well played.
Is 20. Yeah, we self-lethal. So actually that was kind of close.
All to the face.
Oh yeah.
For honor.
So yeah. Yeah, so he was actually playing a slow control deck as well, but against most decks you'll be behind on board early, and then you'll use the Doomsayer or the AoE to try to swing the tempo back in your favor. And then the best way to use Doomsayer, AoE, and Molten Giants is when you get super low, you have the Ice Block active. They do something like that. They go for your face, try to pop the block, they let the Doomsayer go off, and then all of a sudden next turn you have double Molten Giant, you Alex yourself, and then they have nothing on the board and you have 3 8/8s on the board. That's the best case scenario.
Let's see if we can squeeze one more in before I think Blizzard are starting maintenance in 18 minutes. So this is going to be a double race against time.
Oh yeah, and unfortunately our deck wants to go as slow as possible. So
We've not drawn one Alex yet, have we?
oh,
here we go. Here's trouble.
yeah. All right, so this will be a fast game. Again, so our deck strategy goes out the window. We're gonna keep the Molten Giant because that's our chance. The Doomsayer actually doesn't do much, but it's still going to be our best turn 2 play it's going to be our best early play because Frostbolt doesn't fully kill anything anyway. So yeah, toss one of the Doomsayers. Now we'd love to see a Water Elemental, a Twilight Drake, just a minion we could play early. So the Belcher is actually okay. But so now the Molten Giant. By the time the Hunter gets you low enough to play the Molten Giant, it's very hard to get him to swing more than once after that, because the hunter kills you so soon afterwards. So we're going to use that Doomsayer, ideally, just to set up for one of our minions, so we can clear the board and play our minion before him.
Where do you stand on the current rise of Hunter? Do you think it is too far, or?
It's really strong. Alright, wait, real quick, let's do some math. So Hunter's Mark kills your Doomsayer. Outside of Hunter's Mark, he's got 3 power on the board, so we'd have to buff his Undertaker. He can't buff the Undertaker basically enough to kill the Doomsayer, so Hunter's Mark kills it, but that's okay. We'll just take our chances. Actually, sorry. Oh, it's fine, it's fine. I just wanted to talk about, this is one of those situations where we could, if we wanted to be greedy, again, it's not that good against Hunter because he's going to play something like the Creeper, which is going to stick around anyways. But in this situation, we have our power drop on 4, basically. So we could have waited on the Doomsayer and played it on 3. That way we'd have the Water Elemental on the open board, like we talked about. But it's probably going to get Hunter's Marked anyways and killed.
There's a lot of different builds of Hunter going around, you know, with the traps and the weapon and the kind of the older, more mid-range one, and this one with the Undertaker. What do you think is the most effective?
I think the Undertaker one, especially on the ladder when you're facing a lot of other hunters anyways, is the strongest. Because basically, it can have these impossible to beat curves in the beginning if they do something like Undertaker, Creeper, Web Spinner, just keep buffing the Undertaker. Alright, so you have to just ping him. So that's kind of my mistake. We should have Frostbolted and Doomsayer this turn. That way we can guarantee the Water Elemental on open board next turn. Although we do know at this point that he has no Hunter's Mark, so our Water Elemental will be safe to Hunter's Mark shenanigans. And it's 6 HP, so it is out of range of Kill Command on its own as well.
What's the hardest counter to Hunter?
This Undertaker Hunter was really good against it. Priest is okay against it. Go ahead and play the Water Elemental. So we did get the Water Elemental on open board, so this is perfect. But yeah, we're trying a lot of new things. Druid's alright. In terms of hard counters, I don't know. Like Priest is like kind of a hard counter, but it can still lose because Hunter's so powerful. The problem with Hunter is they can have these draws where they can really spiral out of control with the Undertaker early. So they have one way to win like that, and there's like no way that you can catch up. The Hunter's really good at just continuing to control. Unfortunately, we have just no way whatsoever to deal with Freezing Trap. We have no easy way to proc it, so we could just test it now. We have our taunt though, which doesn't have to attack, luckily enough. So we'll play the taunt for sure. Actually, we're done. Just in case it's explosive, we'll attack first. That way, our taunt will be higher health later. So go ahead and attack face. It's probably going to get frozen, but it could be explosive. Alright, so it's freezing. So we could just play the Belcher now. Now the Belcher, it's sort of immune to Freezing Trap because it's a taunt. You don't have to attack with it. And yeah, just pass.
I guess the slimes that are left behind are reasonable for kind of proccing traps as well. Once you.
Yeah, we got the slime. Maybe we could put a scientist on the board if we're expecting another freezing in the future, but we don't really have that much options if you look at our hand, so. So again, Sylvanas is really weak because if he puts a freezing trap, Sylvanas just sits there. But he might be forced to double trade into it. And Frostbolt, we don't have to Frostbolt this turn. So it's either going to be the Water Elemental and we're going to attack the Scientist, or we'll just play the Sylvanas. Let's play the Sylvanas just for the small chance that we can steal a Savannah next turn, or at least dissuade him from playing Savannah. Or also you could steal the Scientist and then we won't have to deal with the second Freezing Trap maybe.
Down she goes.
I have no time.
Yeah, so again, our options aren't that good against Hunter. We're just kind of playing stuff, hoping it works, basically. And there's many ways you can counter our plays. But yeah, Sylvanas is like a high variance play. It's great to play from behind because it can get you out of crazy scenarios.
What kind of percentage Hunter are you running into higher up the ladder in the Legend ranks now?
Actually, since this Undertaker Hunter got super popular and it's really good in the mirror, now people are actually able to counter this faster Hunter a little bit with things like I've been facing a lot of Warrior lately for some reason. Warrior and Ramp Druid. Warrior and Rap Druid struggled against the mid-range Hunter and even just the trap-heavy Hunter. But now that the Hunter builds are speeding up to beat each other, they are getting a little weaker versus Ramp Druid and Control Warrior.
I'm a Druid guy, it's made me sad that Druid's not as good anymore.
Yeah, oh no, yeah, it's trying to come back. It's trying to come back. So now if he does the Armor Freezing Trap, we're going to be able to Frostbolt our Sylvanas at some point to kill it, because we're going to get our Sylvanas weak here, it looks like. Unless we want to Sheep. Sheeping is not out of the question.
Sheep and ping, would you do?
Yeah, so we're going to delay proccing that Death Rattle on the trap, because as much as possible. We can take a little bit more damage because we have the Molten Giant in hand. I think we should Sheep this turn, so then that's going to leave us with 3 mana, so we can Ping, or we can Frostbolt, or we can Arcane Intellect. All of them are fine. I would say Arcane. There's not much we're looking for, but something like an Alex and an Ice Block would help, even though we're half expecting it to get flared. So yeah, let's Arcane Intellect and look for something good. That is what we're looking for. So go ahead and polymorph the Sludge Belcher and attack the Scavenging Hyena. There was some merit to pinging the Sheep, that way he couldn't fully kill the Sylvanas easily, but we're okay if he trades his board into it.
So he's already had one freezing trap.
Yeah, but sometimes people, I mean, if they're going to play 2 of a trap, it's usually that one. So there goes our polymorph. This is a problem. Again, this is
Oh, there's
so
Alex
okay.
finally.
Unfortunately, we can't play much, so we'll just play the Drake and the 4 mana Water Elemental. So again, this is how you the Hunter matchup. It's not like this is the right play, this is the wrong play. It's just like it's a lot of hoping things go your way and making the only play that lets you win the game because it's so unfavored. Like if you were like a normal deck, you'd be playing around the Sedan a little bit. You'd be like, all right, he's gonna play Sedan next turn. How do I deal with it? Against this deck, you're more like, I can't win if he plays a Savannah, so we're gonna make a play as if he doesn't have it. Okay, so all right, so which one of those do we want to get frozen? So it looks like the play is going to be double Molten Alex, but first we have to deal with what we want to get frozen here. I think. Let's see. So he has, if we were to freeze the Savannah, Savannah, which is our most defensive play, you would have 8, 9 damage on the board, plus 2 more for 11 with his hero power, and we would have 24 damage of our own on the board, and then the 2 Frostbolts. So we actually would have lethal next turn. So let's do that. So let's, if it's explosive. So we're going to get our Twilight Drake frozen, so go ahead and attack the Twilight Drake into the face, just in case it's explosive. We'll pop that as well. Okay, that's fine. Now freeze. Now we're going to have an easier time finding lethal. Alright, so go ahead and freeze the Savannah with your Water Elemental, and then double Molten Giant and Alex yourself. Alright, so there's a lot that still kills us, like Kill Command, Leroy, stuff like that. Yeah, Unleash. Well, actually, he couldn't fit the Unleash on the board, but this actually gives us a chance at winning, because now we have 24, 28 damage on the board, plus our Frostbolts.
Oh, this is exciting then.
Yeah, this is actually good. So we didn't actually rely on things like Ice Block, which don't work against Hunter normally anyways. And yeah, that's a problem with Hunters. If they pop your Ice Block, they always have a guaranteed way to pop it next turn with their hero power anyway, so it's not even a big deal if it gets flared, because it's not that good of a card against them anyways.
Yeah, taunts are no good, right, with the kill command and the hero power.
Alright, so he's okay. He might stall lethal.
Well played.
Wait, does he one off? He needs 1 more damage. Oh my gosh. Well, he's slow rolling it, or he doesn't have it, which is really good. So Yeah, so we took a lot of high risk plays because it's the only way to win, and it paid off. Mostly it paid off because we got the Alex Straza draw right on time with the double Moltons.
If he plays kill command as the rope goes down,
Yeah.
I don't know what you want to
Yeah,
do.
yeah, no, it's just, I mean, this is just standard Hunter player. They just can't expect any. But yeah, it's about as close as you can get to beating a Hunter. We can just chalk that one up as a win, as basically.
I feel like we
Just
won.
that one.
That's
definitely.
the emotion I'm feeling now. Victory.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much, man. That was brilliant.
Oh, no problem. I had fun as well.
Do you want to do some shout outs to your team and tell people where they can see
Oh, sure.
see you play a bit more and what tournaments you're going to be in coming up?
Yeah, so this is airing tomorrow.
This is going to go out. People will be watching this from Wednesday. Yeah.
Okay, so perfect. So I'm going to be playing in the VGBN 2 tournament. Since I got second last time, they invited me to the next one, which is going to be this weekend on Twitch. Not sure what channel, but you can find out more information on Team Liquid, or Liquid Hearth is their Hearthstone website. Also, shout out to my team, Tempo Storm, tempostorm.com. I did a guide on this Mage deck as well. It's really long. I played like 10 games on ladder. My Twitter is hyped HS, no spaces or anything, and my Twitch is hyped with a 3 where the E is, so HYP3D.
Cool. Well, like I say, thank you very much for coming on, being our first guest on PC Gamer Hearthstone Help. Hopefully we'll get you back on to showcase more decks, maybe some of the secret stuff once you're ready to show that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, absolute pleasure. Thanks, Hyped.
No problem.